If you are a new user of Linux, particularly Ubuntu, or if you are going to use Ubuntu in future, then you should watch this video. It will help you because I have compiled all the points that I think is required for a new user, because I did face a lot of problems when I started. So the first thing is that if you are unable to boot, you can see the grub, but after you press grub, your boot gets stuck at some point, showing a black screen or a purple screen or some text. Then what you have to do is you have to boot somehow into the you have to boot the operating system somehow once, and then you have to install the graphics driver. So how do you boot? Somehow that part you need to do. So here you see Quiet Splash. This how you what you have to do is open the grub. When you see the grub, you have to press E, and there you'll find lots of text written. You need to find a line that ends with Quiet Splash, delete the Quiet Splash and add no mode set in place of that. This one here is for NVIDIA graphics card, and this here below is for AMD graphics card. So this might work. This in most cases it should work, because I have tried it on lots of laptop and it did work, but sometimes it doesn't work. So you can always search on the internet for a Linux kernel parameters or Linux boot parameters for Ubuntu, and you will get some parameters, and you should try some combinations. One of them will work and you will get booted into the system. Once you have that, what you have to do is open see the software the Windows key in Ubuntu or in Linux is called the super key. So press the super key and then type in software and updates, this one here, click on it. Here you will have to go to the additional drivers, then it will search for the drivers. Go choose the proprietary driver. It will by default choose the open source, this one, but you will have to choose the proprietary driver. It will download the driver, and then you'll have no problem booting it the next time. Okay, but if you wanted to change the kernel parameter permanently, then for that you need to type in if you want to use gedit, then gedit, and then /etc/ boot. Okay, so I'll have to where this file is, because I don't remember it. It will be present in etc, that is for sure, but here I should see a grub. Yeah, so here there is this grub.config, and here you can add the parameter. Yeah, it was right in front of my eyes. So replace this with no mode set or ACPI OSI, whichever works, or there might be some other parameters. So do that and you'll have, but I recommend using the installing the proprietary graphics driver, because that works better. Let's close without saving. Okay, before we exit, another important thing to know here is when you open the file explorer, you'll see this window. This is your home, so don't assume that home is the starting directory of your Linux system. No, the root here, this slash is the starting directory. You will not see this slash on the favorites. This is the left pane or the favorites pane, maybe that's what it's called. I call it that. So yeah, here you'll see this computer. So this computer is basically the root directory. Now when you enter it, you'll see a list of directories. So you might not find any need of knowing what these are, but it is better if you know them, because you will have to use them sometime in the future if you are installing or editing or tweaking around. So it is better if you know what they are. So just have some brief idea. This boot has the basic packages that are needed for booting, so never mess with them. CD-ROM is for CD-ROM, nothing to say about it. Dev is for devices, the devices that are connected, I suppose. etc is for all the configuration files. Home is for the obviously your home contains every personal file, document, photos, everything, pictures. So whatever you see here all belongs in the home. Okay, so let's go back to the root directory. Then lib, everything that has lib at the starting all contains some library programs that are needed for the computer by the operating system, so don't mess with them either. Media and mount, they both are mount points, but media is for removable drives and mount is for like if you have a Windows partition and you want to mount that, then that will be mounted in this directory mnt. Opt is for optional, proc is for process. This is the root directory, not the root directory. It is the directory where if you log in as root, then this is the home directory of the root. So it is not the root directory, it is the home directory of the root. Sbin and bin, so they basically install all the binary files, like any command that you run on Linux terminal, they are stored in it. Bin and sbin. And var is for variable, tmp for temporary files, sys is for some system files. I don't know, I have never used it. Srv for server, it is open because I haven't used my laptop as server. Snap is like another package manager, a replacement for apt. Okay, so that's all here. Now if you see this process and the size that it takes, so that is an interesting figure because I don't have 140 TB hard disk on my system. So don't worry about the figure because it is like virtual memory, that because everything in Linux is a file, every process is a file, so it assigns some virtual memory and virtual address. I don't know how that stuff works, but it is something that you don't have to know. So let's forget it, and then next move on to the basic layout. So here this is the gnome panel or the top panel. This is the dock, that is basic, generally present on the left side. I have put it on the bottom. You can do that easily by going to settings, and then let the settings open. In appearance, choose the position, and that will do the job. Okay, now while we are here, I'll tell you another important thing, and that is this keyboard shortcuts, because you need to create keyboard shortcuts if you want. You don't need to, but you should, because it makes accessing stuff easier and overall experience is better. Okay, so I have created keyboard shortcut for changing workspaces and for playing, pausing, rhythm box, and many other keyboard shortcuts, because keyboard shortcuts are obviously faster than clicking most of the times. Okay, so what are workspaces? So like here I have got 3 workspaces at present. This one I have opened a Chrome window. Here I'm doing the recording, and this is the extra one that gets added up automatically if you have chosen the dynamic workspace. So what you can do, what you can use workspaces for, basically if you have too many windows open. Right now I don't have too many windows open, but if you have, then you can arrange them in different workspaces so that it is easier to access them. That's what I use them, and if people use it for other purposes, then I don't know about that. Okay, so after that let's talk about what to do when your computer or an application freezes. So if an application freezes or crashes and you can't close it, what you have to do, press Alt plus F2, then type in xkill, and before that I should open something, let's say rhythm box, and then I can't assume I can't close rhythm box. Press xkill, I get across, click on the window will close. Okay, this was the first method, but it will not work if your entire system has crashed or entire system has frozen. So what you can do for that, you can obviously hold down the power key or the reset button if you have a reset button to shut down the system, but there is a better method available. So what you have to do is you need to press and hold Alt plus the system requirement key or the print screen key. You need to press and hold them for a couple of seconds. Then after that press REISUB. I'll write it here, but make sure that you maintain a gap of at least 1 second between every two keystrokes. So it is Alt plus print screen or the system requirement. So that is, then you need to REISUB. This what this does is it closes your system and restarts it, but before that it saves all the application that are responding and force quits all the applications that are not responding. So it is obviously better than just holding the power key, because at least some of your data will be saved, and it makes sure that all the resources are closed and stuff like that. So it is safer than holding the power key. So you should try this before the last resort. Okay, so after that, let's see what we have to do. So the basic thing that you'll do is installing softwares. So one way to do that is the software center provided by Ubuntu Canonical. So you can search for any application and install it directly from here if you don't like the command line, but the best way as per me is the command line. So just write sudo apt. Okay, so before installing anything, you should install sudo apt install ubuntu restricted extras. So there are many people who don't install this, and when they try to run a video or a song, they get an error and they say that Ubuntu or Linux is not good enough. Basically they lack the codecs that are required to play the song or the video, so you should install it. Okay, so after that, but if you have checked the software from third-party sources, something like that, while you were installing Ubuntu, then you might not need to install it. I don't remember because it has been long time since I installed Ubuntu. So okay, now so installing a software is very easy. Just if you want to use a command line, just type in a command for installing Chromium, if you want to install Chromium or any other software that you want to install, and you'll get the command. So basically it looks like sudo apt install and then the name of the command, or you might even see sudo apt-get install. So there is no difference. There is some difference in them, but for average user there is no difference. So why type more when you can type less? And another thing is that apt is a newer version of apt-get, so it is obviously better you use the newer version, and it is made for end user. Apt-get has some additional features, but they are never required by average users, so it is recommended to use apt if you don't have any particular requirements that require apt-get. So that will install the software. If you want to remove the software, then you have to do sudo apt remove and the name of the app package or the software that you want to remove. But this remove command will only remove the application but keep the configuration file. So if you install the software again, then you will have the same configuration that you set previously. If you want to remove the configuration file too, what you have to do is sudo apt purge and then write the name of the application. So it will permanently remove the configuration file along with the application. So the next time you install that application, you'll get a new set of configuration. So it's better if you have messed up the configuration settings. Next, let's see if when we let me close this one, press the super key, type in software. Okay, here sorry, that part I have told you, the additional drivers part. One thing that I missed here was this checks, so better check them all because they are the allowed sources for installing the softwares. And one thing that I missed here is sudo add apt repository So and then the repository name, whatever it is. So when do you need it and what is the meaning of it? So when you are installing a software using the command line and you run into an error unable to locate the package, then it means that you need to add the PPA to the repository. For that you need to run this command, and followed by the PPA, whatever PPA is for the particular software. What is PPA? PPA stands for Personal Package Archive, and basically Canonical provides a platform so that the developers that have created new versions of software that are yet not added onto the official repository of Ubuntu can provide their software to their users, because it takes a lot of time before new softwares are added to the repository. There needs to be some testing, I suppose, that makes the process tedious. Okay, I don't know what it is, but yeah, you get the idea. So another way to do the installation of software is by downloading .deb file, but if you can use the command line or the software center, better prefer that. If you can't, then you can obviously download the .deb file and then double click on it, and if you have GW, then it will open with the GW package installer, else it will open with the software center. So it is just like a .exe file, no big deal. Okay, but better install it using command line if you can, because that way you will not run into any problems that related to dependencies or updates, I suppose. And another thing is about the name of the file extension. So basically there is no meaning of file extensions in Linux, because you can name a text file as .jpg or .jpeg. It doesn't matter, because the operating system does not recognize which application to use by the file extension. It is more required by the user, so that the user can see and tell what kind of file it is. But in general, if you see a .deb file, it is for installing a software. It is a software just like a .exe file. Then there's a .tar.gz. It is for compressed files, and then these are the common ones. Okay, then so there we have Microsoft Office in Windows, and here we have LibreOffice. So let me close this, open LibreOffice. So this is the this is analogous to the MS Word, LibreOffice Writer. This is analogous to the PowerPoint, and this one is a replacement for MS Excel. And this Calc, I don't know what it does. It does something. I have never used it, so if you know what it does, please do tell me. Okay, and then we have Rhythmbox for the default music player, and if you are a fan of MS Paint, then you can use a software called Pinta. I use it, and you can install it by sudo apt install Pinta. That should do the job. But if you are facing any problem, just do a simple Google search, and that should help you out. Other than that, you should install a GNOME tweaks tool, because if you are using GNOME as your desktop environment, then it will be really helpful. This is the one that I'm talking about. So it makes making changes to appearance and other settings very simple and easy, so you should install it. And I think that is all. Yeah, but before we end this video, I need to tell you about an interesting little feature of Ubuntu, and that is this always on top. So basically what happens is, if you select always on top for any window, and then if you even move on to the other window or type something in the background, this will remain on top. So it might not seem useful at the moment, but it is quite useful, and small things make big difference. So that's why I told you that. And that's all for this video.